Well, I think it's about high time you and I had a pretty serious discussion about truck guns. Yeah. And it's beautiful Marlin 3030. One of my first firearms, my first centerfire rifle, I purchased at the age of 18 years old. Been a good tool. You know, when you think about a truck gun, what comes to mind? Is it the type of gun, or is it more how it makes you feel? You know, it's about as American as it gets when you think about it, to have with you the things that you need to get home. First aid kit, tow strap, right? Spare tire, repair kit, the stuff that you have to get home. And when we think about a truck gun, basically that's you saying, I am taking into my hands the ability to deal with whatever I might find out there that could stop me from getting home. So let's talk a little bit about truck guns. Would this Marlin be a bad truck gun? I think no, but there's some limitations to it. We'll come to that. You know, when you think about a weapon like this, and this isn't all that old, but Marlin and companies like Winchester and others have been making lever action repeating rifles for a long time. The truck gun kind of goes back to having a saddle gun. You were on your horse and you had a gun with you to deal with the things that you might find out on the trail to get you home. Well, we don't ride horses like we used to, right? We have motorcycles, maybe the old steel horse, but for most of us it's a truck, family car. And you have that weapon with you. And I want to talk for a little bit about considerations, not just on the type of gun, but what it's actually used for, and some considerations to think about if you are going to take such a weapon with you into the world. I'm going to put this down so I have my hands free. So we talked about the concept of it being with you in case you need it. So let's talk a little bit about for what? What do we have it for? And this comes up often in threads, chat rooms, online conversations, and the like, but it's just in case. And most of us think about, you know, that just in case major cataclysmic psychopath shooter, and you're going to be there or maybe are in the vicinity to stop it, to save the day. Maybe you're a law enforcement officer, so you're used to carrying one throughout the day. Maybe you just want to do it because it's your right. Some things to think about. Oftentimes, violence for most people, violence that visits most of us, is quick, it's fast, and it's when you least expect it. As such, the ability to go back to your vehicle if you are not with it doesn't really help you. Inside the Walmart, as a shooting takes place, for you to sprint out to the car, arm up, and get back in seconds it all could be over. Then there's the moral and ethical thought process of if you can leave, should you go back? And that's a completely different discussion. I think if you can help, you always should, but that's something you must think about yourself. And are you skilled enough? Are you going to cause more harm than good? Another discussion altogether. But we have this notion of a truck gun. You know, here's something that is near and dear to me. This is my Radian. This is cleared out. Yes, that's a 60-round Surefire magazine. But that's a lot of horsepower in a small package. This sucker can drop down. I've got a good Surefire light on there, good backup irons. I've got a good VTAC sling, beautiful Radian, ready to go. Something like this is a formidable piece of hardware. Got another one here, similar type build, a little longer barrel. This has a law folder on it, which is pretty sweet. Night Force optic. Again, we've got the VTAC sling on there. Beautiful, beautiful tool. But I think there's some things to consider, and I want to just kind of maybe just let a stream of consciousness forth to think about it. For example, the Bureau of Justice puts out statistics annually on crime. Did you know that every year in the United States, well over 200,000 firearms are stolen in homes, from businesses, off of people's persons, out of their vehicle? Every day. One city in America had almost 2,000 stolen in 1 year from that city. A friend of mine that was involved in a shooting as a victim and victor, he was a police officer that was brutally attacked. His name's Jared Reston. You can look that story up. We've got a video of him on the YouTube channel doing a discussion. The weapon that was used to try to murder Jared came from a robbery years earlier in another part of his state, and it resurfaced that day. If a gun is left unattended, very easy for it to be stolen. And there's much data on bad guys looking for things like stickers on your truck, looking for patterns to see in a parking lot. Is that the kind of vehicle I'm going to break the window out and find a weapon in the glove box or underneath the back seat? It's important to think about. Oftentimes when that comes up, people think it's my vehicle, I can have in it whatever I choose. Very true. But you'd be very upset if your weapon like this happened to disappear. I tell you what, nothing that I travel with is outside of my care and custody or completely locked up in a bona fide burglar-proof case. Anything can be broken into, but I'm talking a legit gun safe. So that's something to consider. If you're going to have it with you, what happens when you're not with it? So do you have some type of lock in your vehicle? For a pistol, that becomes pretty easy. There's quite a few items that you can lock up under the seat, in a console, etc. But in a pickup truck, or rather in a long gun situation, or in a pickup truck that doesn't have a console or something like that, what are you doing with this? How are you securing it when you're not in the vehicle? In some locales, it's not even lawful to leave a gun unattended in a vehicle, so you need to know location laws. But when we start to go back to that discussion of what problem are we trying to solve, look, right now with what's going on in the world, it's pretty easy to say, I want this with me versus a pistol when you see violence in the streets. Now, keep in mind, most of the time, if you're in a vehicle, you've got the upper hand. Drive on, drive away. You know, we like to say here at this channel in our training courses, awareness is the currency with which you and I buy time to act. So if we're paying more attention, we're not going to be caught in a situation where we're unaware. But now that brings us back to the point of, how is this weapon traveling with you? Is it under the back seat? In a situation where you had to have it, how are you getting it out in a hurry? And if you have the time to get it out, can you get away? What problem are you trying to solve? You know, a weapon like that, people used to say a pistol is meant as a tool to help you fight to get to your long gun. You know, that's a really great ism when you're talking about war. But the fact of the matter is, and people like Claude Werner, awesome instructor, was one of the lead guys for one of the top schools in the country, former Green Beret, and they call him the tactical professor for a reason. Claude has looked at much data, and most fights are over in seconds, not in the time frame where a gun like that's necessary. So I'm not telling you not to have one. I just want to hash out the thoughts. So how about our concealed weapon, right? So Boresight Solutions Glock 19, beautiful pistol. 15 plus 1. Is that enough rounds? Maybe, maybe not. Looking at statistical information, chances are it will be more than enough for most instances. But most people like us, we think about that and we go, well, what if I want to be prepared? Well, what if I had the 15 that was in there and the backup in my truck was a 30-round Glock stick? So now I've got 15 plus 1 plus 30, 46 rounds of 9-ball. I mean, that's quite a bit of ammo. Could you have 2 or 3 of these as backups? What I'm driving at here, and this is just me spitballing, would it be better to have this stored in your vehicle than perhaps an AR or something else? Food for thought, because what problem are you trying to solve? If you are not law enforcement, where you have to go seek out the bad guy, and all you're trying to do is protect, escape, and evade, because that is what we're trying to do. None of us have the right to go out and hunt down bad people unless you have a sworn oath by we the people, because by the way, that's what cops are. Cops are just citizens like the rest of us that we have given the power to go out and catch the bad people for us. That's all that is. That's another discussion in itself. But our goal is to get home alive, get home safe, get our family home alive safe, and any innocent people that we have in our care or custody, or that we choose to risk our own life and limb for, which is a huge thing to think about. So as we talk about truck guns and we start to think about things like, maybe this 30 right here. It's a beautiful gun, isn't it? 30 carbine. You can get a 30 round mag for this. That'd be a great gun. Is that really going to solve the problems that I'm going to face out there? The answer is nobody knows. So here's what I'm proposing that you think about. It's not have the big mag with your carry gun, but I do think that that's a great option because I can have this in my backpack and I can have my concealed weapon on me and I can have quite a bit of firepower. Run that mag empty, get rid of it, put that big boy in, and now I'm basically doubled down. I got 2 more magazines in one in this gun. This isn't a joke. This isn't like playtime. I'm trying to show you big magazines. It's thinking practically about what real world problems are out there. And again, most violence is not the movies. It's not John Wick. Most violence is short and fast. Now, how does most of that violence cause problems to us? Today is the 1st of October, 2020. So who saw the recent video? If you watch this in the future, a year, 2, 3, or 4 years from now, because these videos stay up forever, you may have to look back. But a few days ago, there was some footage released of 2 gentlemen driving in a vehicle on an interstate. There was a car trying to pass them. The person with the camera was upset. Eventually, the person trying to pass him pulled a pistol out, and the driver of the vehicle in question presented his concealed carry pistol and started firing on the freeway through the windshield. Now, some people said he had a right to do it because a weapon was shown to him. Sometimes just because you have a right to do a thing doesn't make it right. How about hit the brakes, man, downshift, and let that problem car drive away? Awareness is the currency with which we buy time to act. The more we're aware, the more time we buy. But here's the thing, aware of what? We also have to be aware of our emotions. Had that driver in that setting been aware that his blood was beginning to boil because this car behind him was tailgating, trying to get past him, he could have said, in the big picture, I don't want to become famous for doing something very stupid in a few seconds. So how about I just back off the gas, pull over a little bit, and let this guy blast by? Because in the big picture, my goal is to live a long, full life. That might have not been his goal. So what's your goal? Is it to have a truck gun to fill the need? Is it to have the gun because your buddies have one? Or is it to have the ability to get home to your family? To have the ability to stop any evil that may try to end your life prematurely or prey upon you, your loved ones, or other innocent people? I'm not giving you a right or wrong answer. What I'm proposing to you is you weigh out some of these ideas and concepts. I do believe that sometimes we make decisions when it comes to weapons based on emotion rather than practicality. This lever action that I pulled out, I could do good work with this. One of these days I'll run to a carbine course when I can afford a couple thousand rounds of 30-30 ammo to do it. But I can do good work with this. Chances are I could probably solve most problems with this firearm that will ever pose a problem to me. And I can look good doing it. But at the end of the day, I can probably do the same thing with this 9mm, right? One is not right over the other. One does something different. And I think the challenge that I'd like to talk to you guys about, or at least leave you with, is using your head and really hashing out what your goal is, what the end game is, and are you going to be in control of your emotions and your ability to pay attention throughout the day, because we get tired, we get stressed out, we get preoccupied, to really achieve that objective of winning. And winning is not just winning the fight, but winning is living. We do that through planning, through knowing ourselves, through understanding what the objectives are, and not creating turmoil where turmoil should not be, not inflicting more harm or damage than need be, and if necessary, retreating from a possible fight. Hey man, I don't want any. You want to get past me or in that big of a rush? Must be important. Be my guest. That said, I will leave you with one more thought. If the day ever comes that you need such a tool as this formidable AR with all of the goodies, right? If the day ever comes that I need this, do I know where it is in my vehicle? Is it set up, ready to go? Do I know, in this case, the mag and chamber are empty? But if I needed it, is it in the condition that I know when I pick it up, it's ready to go? Or maybe I need to charge it, whatever your process is. Do I know that when I mount that gun and go to work, I can hit what needs hitting and not hit what does not need hitting? Do I understand how to work through possible stoppages to the gun now? Do I understand how to make that gun do everything I needed to do without having to think? Because in that moment that a truck gun or any gun becomes the difference between your life and death, you had better hope that you had trained with it to a subconscious level, whatever that may be. Your ability to focus and see what's going on around you is paramount because these bullets cause a lot of damage, as you guys know. If that time comes, have you prepared yourself in here to inflict violence on other humans? Have you prepared yourself that when you do look through an optic or through a sight and press the trigger where flesh is behind the barrel and not paper or steel or cardboard, but human flesh, that is not something that you can take back and that your choices must be both ethical and right in the eyes of the law? Because you will live with that, as will the person that you are stopping. Will you be correct? This is not going to change anything if you are not ready here and here. So I close with that. Truck guns are wonderful. Our ability to live in a nation where we can have such tools to protect ourselves is only kept that way because people like you and I do it safely. Because people like you and I also hold the Constitution in high regard and we protect it from being torn up. We protect it from being suppressed. We must be good stewards of the republic that we were given. We must be good stewards of the communities that we live in, and we must be respectful of each other. As such, do no harm unless harm is necessary because somebody else is committing violence to the innocent. Period. At the end of the day, I know that I can do most anything I need to based on evidence with my concealed carry weapon. I've trained myself to be able to do that. I know based on my mission, which is get home to my family, that I'll probably be okay. You might not like that. You might say probably isn't good enough for you, but I know based on the totality of all that I've researched, that's probably going to be a good thing. If you travel with a firearm that is off of your body, have a plan on how to secure it. Think through that. Over 200,000 firearms stolen annually. Over 200,000. Good people don't steal guns. You're responsible if it goes missing. Lock it up. I'm not saying you're responsible if you get robbed, but that's your property that is now out there in the bad man's hands. So be mindful of that. It is our duty to keep our weapons away from evildoers. Be well. Think about why you have the weapon. Think about, are my skills up to par? Can I deploy said weapon in a manner that I can suppress a threat quickly and judiciously, meaning the right person and nobody else? That's all I got. Truck guns, pretty dang cool. Be good.